Welcome to Quantum Command Radio, where we talk about all things quantum. You can visit our website at www.quantumcommand.net or subscribe by clicking the subscribe button and hit that bell button for the latest and greatest within the quantum realm. Together, we will discuss topics related to quantum command, wellness, and explore all the new discoveries within this work. And now, let's go quantum. Hey guys, Natalie Morris with Quantum Command, and I'm in my car again. It seems like that's the only place I could do podcasts. Going to get some breakfast burrito on for Chick-fil-A, so heading out to meet a friend and hang out for a little bit. I was just had a couple things on my mind. I had some things I've been thinking about. Several podcasts I've been wanting to do. The supplement one, you guys have already seen. That's that last one that I just did. That was really important to do that one because I literally spend probably 75 to 80% of my time dealing with toxicity from products. It's like yesterday I went through my client day, and I think I had like 8 or 9 calls, and out of those, I think like 5 out of 8 of them were, you're getting palladium from this, you're getting the toxin from that, you're getting heavy metals from these 3 supplements, you started taking this supplement and it's bad, you were doing fine for 3 days, you didn't get anything, and then you got, you're getting aluminum from another supplement. It is almost everything that I do, and if everyone just listens to the supplement video and kind of just does those suggestions, my call volume can go down, and then I can see more new clients, and you'll feel better. That's all I really care about, is that you feel better, because it doesn't feel good to feel bad. I mean, when you get something in the body like palladium, which, all right, this isn't what I was going to do, but I may end up breaking this broadcast into a couple of segments. So when you get palladium in your body from anything, palladium is a common pharmaceutical heavy metal that they put in, bind to nutrients and other things, they say, in order to push it into the cell faster, to assist in its bioavailability is what supposedly is supposed to happen. You can look online and you can look up pharmaceutical industry palladium or pharmaceuticals palladium, and you will find white papers. This is the only reason I know about this, is because I was finding palladium in people's bodies and going, what the crap? How is palladium in the body? Like, why is that there? That is ridiculous. Why are you getting palladium? A lot of this stuff was, again, blind squirrel finding nuts, and then having to trace back, like, well, how's palladium in the body? Well, let's find out. And so I started looking up palladium in the pharmaceutical industry, and then all of a sudden I started finding white papers. Palladium, blah, 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 mixed with tocopherols, mixed with B vitamins, mixed with using to optimize blah, blah, blah. It's out there. So, I perused the articles and realized, they're adding palladium, they're binding palladium to different nutrients, to different formulations. And when a vitamin company sources that particular nutrient or that particular ingredient from the pharmaceutical industry, that will be in the complex, whatever you're taking, whatever supplement you're taking. So you have to think of it in terms of, yes, there's a piece that it's the brand, the whole line is bad. If you get one supplement out of a line, out of a name brand that's bad, it's most likely all of them are bad, because that whole line sources from the same things, from the same people, from the same sources. It's kind of like, it's like doTERRA and Young Living. They make a huge deal about where they source their stuff and how they get what and where they get it and who makes it, and they really read you in to a lot of their internal processes, because they want you to know where they're getting their stuff, because sourcing matters. So if you go to Doctor's Best, for example, if you grab Doctor's Best, and Doctor's Best, which is a supplement line, is sourcing their B vitamins from a pharmaceutical industry in China who has horrible practices, which I don't know if they do this. This is not an accusation. I'm just saying, like, this is just, I'm throwing it out there. If any brand is sourcing it that way, it trickles down to the consumer by what goes into our body when we ingest that product. For example, let's talk about this for a second. I don't want to do this, but we're going to do this because I'm right here and it's quiet and I can do it. I've worked on a couple of people who have had CBD oils. I'm talking about, if I told you the name of the brand of the CBD oil, you would know about it. It's that big. It's huge. And I've tested about 3 or 4 different CBD oils. Not many people use CBD oils that come my way because it's really expensive, number one. And number two, people have moral problems with it. I'm not going to state my opinion about it right this moment, but I was testing their CBD oil, and both of their high dollar, actually 3, I tested 3, and they had 3 different types, different brands, different places, supposedly different, formulations. All 3 of those CBD oils were packed to the hilt with glyphosate. You know what glyphosate is? Some of you are raising your hands and say, no, pick me, I know what it is. Yes, they're in the back. Yes. What is glyphosate? Glyphosate is Roundup. Okay. Glyphosate is a Monsanto product that is right now under major litigation for causing non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and different kinds of cancers. Bayer, the company Bayer, the same Bayer, you know who Bayer is, right? They make those little aspirins, right? They do other stuff too. They did stuff in World War II too. Did you know that? Did you know they did stuff in World War II? You should look up what Bayer did in World War II. Anyway, Bayer just acquired Monsanto. I tell you what, all these demons, man, they love to sleep together. They love they love each other's research about how to kill humanity. Anyway, I'm just on a roll today, I guess. So anyway, the Roundup glyphosate is on my toxin list, just to check to see if anybody's getting it. And man, that CBD oil was packed, concentrated with glyphosate. Now, how would a marijuana plant that's not designed to basically respond to Roundup. Like, Roundup is supposedly designed for GMO products. It'll kill other stuff. People take Roundup and they kill other stuff in their yard with it, which is really stupid. Like, there are other ways that you can kill stuff. You should use those ways, not the poisonous way that is a chemically, it's an endocrine disruptor. It is a chemically persistent chemical. It's very hard for nature to break it down. It takes forever. It's very persistent. It also lasts a really long time in the body, and we'll talk a little bit more about glyphosate in here in a second. So anyway, it had glyphosate in it, and these people are paying money for this product. They have no idea. And you would never know that this product had glyphosate in it unless you tested it, unless you muscle tested it. That's it. That's just one product. That's just glyphosate. I see glyphosate all the time. And glyphosate, the crazy thing about glyphosate is they spray it on the GMO crops, right? It becomes integrated into the food itself. We consume that food. It goes into our body. And it can go into a variety of places. I see different ways that people get glyphosate. I guess we're going to talk about glyphosate for a second. Glyphosate comes into the body a number of ways. You can get it on your skin. I work with people that sometimes will just like brush up against it, like if they're on a hike or something. And I'm sure the National Park Service uses Roundup for weed control or other pesticides to keep the trails clean. And you're on a trail and your foot is in some of the greenery and it touches your feet, touches your shoes. You bend down to tie your shoe, get it on your hands. You don't know you got it on your hands. Then you touch your face and you've just gotten it on your face. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a week later, your face is breaking out like crazy and you're having insane migraines and you have no idea why. I'll tell you why. Because the glyphosate came into the body and it went into the cervical lymph nodes. It went into the skin and went into the cervical lymph nodes. Cervical lymph nodes are the lymph system of the head and neck region. It's what keeps us well. The lymph system is basically our recycle bin. It's just constantly recycling and keeping things, dense with nutrients. It assists the vascular system in cleaning up the house, cleaning up your body. So when glyphosate comes into the body, it is, first of all, it is optimized to be in nanoparticle form. It's optimized. That's the goal, is to get it in tiny amounts in a mist formulation and to be persistent, to stay on the product, to stay on the plant. Excuse me. So when it comes into a biological system, remember, Roundup is designed to persist on biological systems. So when it comes into the body, it is going to persist in that biological system. Because it's so tiny, number one, and number two, because it's so darn, it just adheres. It adheres to the biological system, to the tissues, and it ain't letting go. And you can wash it and you can scrub it, it doesn't matter. It's in the body. You can forget about it. It's there. So I had a client, so let's go back. Let's go back to that whole idea of it. It's in the lymph system of the head and neck region, and it's on the skin now. So you're breaking out on your skin, and you have no idea why. Like, it's a week later. Like, you have no idea that you got into contact with some glyphosate on the trail. And so what does the lymph system do? So the lymph system is going to try and capture as much glyphosate as humanly possible. Literally, as humanly possible, as much as possible. It's going to try and grab as much as possible to keep it from going where? To keep it from going to the vascular system. The body creates a Herculean effort, willing to toxify the skin and the lymph system in order to keep the glyphosate out of the blood. I've seen people with glyphosate in the blood. If you get glyphosate in the blood, you're basically screwed. Some people can deal with glyphosate being in the lymph system, in the skin system. You probably won't die, but you'll be really sick. You'll be really, 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 really sick. And eventually you'll die. I mean, it's a long term. But with vascular system type glyphosate poisoning, we're talking about cancers, profound leukemias, what else? What else have I seen? Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, lymph system, vascular system type diseases. Cancers particularly. So you have this chemical in a certain system of the body. So if it's still in the lymph system and hasn't made it to the blood system, lucky you. But guess what? It goes into these lymph nodes, and there are 3 strategic lymph nodes in the back of the neck called the occipital lymph nodes, the occipital nodes. This is where Teflon goes too, a lot of times too. It's interesting the way the body shuttles stuff around. But anyway, so glyphosate will go back into those occipital lymph nodes and hang out there because the lymph system is now cordoned it off. It's like, okay, we got the terrorists in the basement. Now what are we going to do? It's got it all cordoned off. Not hurting anybody else, not hurting any other system per se on an acute level. It's going to start detoxing it, right? Because that's the goal of the lymph system. It's got to detox those suckers. So start breaking it apart, using the lymph nodes as a sort of little cordoned off area, which is why you have lymph node swelling, because you have stuff in the lymph nodes, just a physical thing. So then the body's going to start trying to detox it. Every time you go through a round of detoxing, you will have an sometimes extreme increase in symptom groups. So if your symptom group is your skin flares up and breaks out and migraines, every time you're detoxing that glyphosate, those things are going to flare up. And you're going to be in bed for 4 days, and you're not going to know why, and your migraine medicines aren't helping you. Your antibiotics are not helping you. Why? Because it's not a pathogen. It's a chemical. It's glyphosate. I've never seen anything really quite effective against glyphosate other than quantum release. Quantum release is really, really able to navigate and just get that stuff out of the body quick. which is really good. That's okay. So anyway, let's go back to glyphosate. And this really goes for any toxin in the body. And when we're talking about glyphosate, I'm also talking about, aluminum, like chemtrail stuff. Aluminum, barium, strontium, radium, mercury, lead, cadmium, those kinds of things I see in people mainly from supplements. But anyway, but they also get it from other stuff like chemtrails, like just a variety of other ways that you can check out my other YouTube videos for, like building the matrix, that kind of thing. That's another way heavy metals come in. They come in through chemtrail pathogens. So anyway, but when I'm talking about this detox cycle, that's really the way it works for any type of heavy metal or pathogen or anything. You get this sort of increase in symptoms while you're detoxing, because your body's just an overload. It can, but it was not designed to chop this stuff up real quick and get it out. This stuff is really, really quite evil in the body, and it makes us very, very, very sick. And what, a lot of people will complain about is particularly sensitive people, like super, super sensitive people. They'll say, I can't even take supplements. If I take a clean vitamin that I know is clean, I will have an unbelievable reaction. I will get so sick. And why is that? It has nothing to do with the vitamin. It has to do with every time they take any kind of nutrient, anything that's nutrient dense, the body immediately grabs that and uses that as a resource as fast as possible to start the detox process. Got to get this stuff out of here, boys. Let's go. Let's move it. And you're taking supplements thinking that they're making you sick, and sometimes they are, but sometimes the supplements are trying to help you detox. And you get an increase in symptoms that way. So when glyphosate goes into the body and it's trying to detox, you're going to have these cyclical symptoms that are quite excruciating. And glyphosate, that's just the physical piece, all right? That's only the physical, like, logistical piece of that type of chemical. The other, like the background noise that's going on, is beyond just it being in your body. It's also a profound endocrine disruptor, meaning it trashes your hormones. I'm telling you, like, you can't have babies. I worked on a little puppy the other day, a little dog, a client who's a breeder, and she called me and she's like, man, my dog is getting pregnant, but she keeps absorbing her puppies. What's going on? I'm like, well, that's not normal. She's like, well, I read on the internet that it's this, and this, and it's actually a good thing because it means that the puppies must be so deformed that they can't, whatever. And I'm like, well, yeah, but the whole process is not good. Like, there must be a reason why she can't stay pregnant. So I checked the puppy, and guess what? She was getting glyphosate every day, and it was keeping her endocrine system from getting the hormone chemical messenger triggers to complete tasks. So everything would just fail. Everything, pregnancy-wise with baby puppies would just fail. And this is what it does to humans. It will create a total 100% failure rate for hormone sequences that are supposed to be happening, that are normal, that will complete certain tasks, reproductive tasks in the body. They don't have to be reproductive. They can just be cellular immune tasks. They can be just absorption of nutrients. They can be, adrenal support. They can be thyroid. I mean, that's just going to disrupt every single hormone. Why? Because it's a hormone mimicker. The body looks at it and goes, I think that's a hormone. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm just going to try and use it as a hormone. And by the time it gets into the cell, it's too late. The body's like, oh, crap, that's not a hormone. Shoot, now I can't get rid of it because it's chemically persistent, it's biologically persistent. And then you're screwed. And it just like spins in the body. And that's why, one of the reasons why it's so dangerous to get into the blood, because then it just shotguns through the entire body. Now it's in your digestive system, your neurological system, your respiratory system. I say digestive, it's in your blood. It's in every organ, gland, tissue now. And so that's the way it works. Glyphosate is chemically persistent. Let's talk about another thing that I saw with glyphosate. I saw with glyphosate a mom who had been early onset to glyphosate exposure, very, very young as a child. It chemically persisted in where? In her mammary glands, in her mammary lymph nodes, in her axillary lymph nodes, which are the lymph nodes underneath the armpit. Right? This is actual cases. I'm not making this stuff up. Actually, this was a thing. She got it, and then when she had babies, when she breastfed them, the glyphosate was right there in the mammary gland tissues, mixed with the breast milk, because all of that is it's nanoparticleized. It's in the lymph system. The lymph system is critical for breast milk production and flow and all of that. You're going to have all those tissues all mixed in there. They're all touching one another. So the glyphosate expressed out of the milk into the child. And now, I've never seen that before, by the way. DDT and glyphosate are the only two, sorry about the beeping. Glyphosate and DDT are the only two chemicals I've ever seen go, chemicals, not technology. Technology's another discussion. But the only two chemicals I've seen go from a mom to a child. Those are the only two. It's very unusual to be able to exchange over those chemicals, any chemicals. Like aluminum's not going to get moved over to the baby, in the womb, that kind of thing. It's not. It just does. I never see it. But glyphosate and DDT can. Because they look like natural substances. The body can tell that it's there. It's not supposed to be there, but it gets real confused around it. And speaking of confusion, you'll have a crap load of brain fog. I mean, unbelievable amounts of brain fog and confusion and energy just is totally tanked. There's varying symptoms to the way glyphosate works, because sometimes people are lucky. Sometimes it's just they get a few and their body starts to detox it, and it's just the low count is just low amount. Like they get 1 million or 1 billion or 1 trillion, and you can get rid of that within a couple years. But something like a Googleplex in terms of numbers, you've got those for the rest of your life because the body just can't detox it that fast. So with DDT and glyphosate, you can come into contact with it a variety of ways. You can get it as an ingestant. I've seen people get it as an ingestant. It's usually like they only get it like 1 or 2 times ever in their life. It's not like they get it hundreds and hundreds of times. They tend to get it like once in their life. For the babies that get it from mama's breast milk, they're getting it hundreds and hundreds of times because they're nursing, and every swallow, is an exposure basically, or every nanoparticle, really, to be completely specific and accurate. It's every nanoparticle would really kind of be an exposure. So that's going to chemically persist in the babies, and then the babies get sick. Babies are so sick and they have early onset, and then people blame the genetics and go, well, it's just the genome, because I was born with something like this and my husband was born with something like this, so it must have been the genome. I'm like, no, it's not the genome. It's the way the genome consistently reacts within similar genome sequences, because they're all the same genome sequences, really similar because they're all in the family. The genome sequences react the same way to certain toxins and pathogens. That's why you see diabetes in families. It's not genetic. It is genetic it's literally genetic in the sense that, yes, the genome is all reacting to the same thing the same way. With the technology piece, the technology just knows how to make, the expression of the genome cause diabetes, for example. That's why diabetes is so hard to get rid of with this work. So, it's not hard in the sense that it's difficult. It's just that I haven't found the technology yet controlling it, theoretically. We'll see. But and diabetes can be caused a number of ways. It doesn't always have to be technology. It can be other reasons, toxicity and stuff. But anyway, I'm chasing a rabbit there. But with glyphosate, you can find it in your products also with ingestants. That's really how we got on this topic, because we were talking about supplements, and then I got on the topic of glyphosate. because glyphosate is in a lot of products. I was testing, I think it was like a moringa powder. It was USDA organic, the stamp on the package. Some kind of, I don't even know what moringa powder does. That's one thing, that's not my niche, that's not my thing. I don't really do a lot of herbs and stuff because I just have found that it doesn't help me. It doesn't help me. I have layer technology, and all I do is waste my money, and the technology just, combats it, and it ends up being a hassle. Besides, I'm my own little guinea pig. I don't take stuff specifically so I can find out how the body reacts to certain things. And since I have layer technology, I'm in the worst case scenario, like with some of my other clients, the ones that have layer technology. And I can have like a real, I can keep the variables under control when I'm working on my own body, because my symptoms were so severe that I didn't want anything else in the process. I didn't want to be taking, like I said, like THC oil or smoking pot or anything, but in order to feel better, because I knew that there was an answer to the problem, and the answer wasn't something to put in the body externally. I had to get rid of what was in the body to stop from being sick. And that's been my journey. But most people don't have layer technology. A lot of people just have the one-offs, which is great. I mean, it means that the success rate can be great for you guys that don't have the layer technology if you just stop putting supplements in your body that are toxic. And anyway, so back to the moringa powder. I was testing the moringa powder, had USDA organic stamp on the package, and I thought I was going to vomit when I tested it. I tested 2 different moringa powders from clients, and they had glyphosate in them. So that's why when I say go to Young Living, go to doTERRA, it's because they really are careful. When you get oils, like from Walmart, I've already talked about this, but from like other brands in the health food store, they are going to have bad stuff in them because the sourcing is bad. And they can just sort of like, just sort of the whole thing where they, they don't know what's really going on. They just are trusting the certifications or whatever. They're not physically going to the plants or going to the places to check out how they're doing it. And they can just pretend to not know. But whatever. I mean, what that gleans is garbage supplements. So I know I'm beating another dead horse again. I'm really sorry. But I can't tell you how most of my work is related to toxin control. And it's something that is 100% completely in our control. We can control what we take, what we do. The supplements are the main thing. The supplements are the main reason why we get these toxins. Every once in a while, we'll get unlucky and we'll find a food that has stuff in it. Every once in a while. It's very unusual. But we'll get that. It's not food most of the time. It's mostly supplements. So, okay, I know I wasn't going to go into all that, but hey, you learned about glyphosate. Hey, you want another story about glyphosate? Listen to this. This was when quantum release was manual. This little story. This is really interesting about how you can get glyphosate. This was when quantum release was manual. People had to call me, and I had to manually clear things. I had to look in the body, is this in the body? What is it? I had to clear it over the phone. Now the quantum release is automatic. Once you have quantum release, you clear your own stuff. You're just calling me not to clear things. You're calling me to find out what happened. And do you need to take a nutrient? And what's going on? And is there anything else new that I need to know about? That's what's going on when you call me once you have quantum release. But it wasn't always that way. I had to, usually a long time ago, I had to manually clear things. So I had a girlfriend of mine call, and she said, she had a little boy, I think he was like probably 10 at the time, I don't really remember, 10 or 11, and his private parts were like unbelievably inflamed all of a sudden out of nowhere. She's like, now this is a mom who is super, super clean food, avoids the doctors, avoids vaccines, is really like on it in terms of just like really being attentive to the details of what's going on in her house. And so she's like, I think I'm gonna have to take him to the ER. Like, it's that bad. I'm like, okay, let's take a look. So I checked him, and he had gotten glyphosate. So I cleared the glyphosate. I had his body clear it, really, because I don't clear anything, right? Because your body's clearing it. I just tell your body to clear it. That's the principle. I want everybody to know that. I'm not healing nobody. That's not happening. I'm telling your body how to. I just figured out a way to talk to the body, tell the body to do it. That's all. That's it. And that's why I like quantum release now, how automatic it is, because I don't have to clear it. You don't have to call me to get it cleared anymore. If you have the updated quantum release, some of my super old clients may not have that update, and they just need to call, get it update, whatever. So anyway, so I tested him. He got glyphosate. It was in skin, which made sense. That's the system that was inflamed, right? So I got it quantumly released. I think he had gotten a teeny tiny amount, like 12, all right? That's a small amount. We can count the numbers. We can count how many things are in the body. So he had like 12. We quantumly released it. The mom called and said within an hour, it turned to basically almost normal and was fine after that. So we were like, what in the world happened? This was early in the work. I didn't see glyphosate very much. And I know that mom was not using glyphosate in her lawn. Everybody's like scratching their head going, how did this kid get it? The dad must be using Roundup behind the scenes. None of that's going on. But they did live in a community, in a subdivision. But the neighbor uses Roundup. So when their munchkin went next door and played, he got glyphosate on his shoes, probably. I do find people get glyphosate on their shoes a lot. And they come into contact with glyphosate over and over and over again because of their shoes. That's another story. I'll tell that story in a minute too. This is fun, client stories. So anyway, he must have gone over next door to the neighbor and gotten glyphosate on his shoes. Then he comes in the house, maybe ties his shoes, whatever, goes upstairs, uses the bathroom, touches the parts that you need to touch in order to use the bathroom, and got it on those parts. And if he had gone to the ER, they would have given him steroids, they would have given him all kinds of things, and it would not have helped, because glyphosate is extremely persistent on the skin. It's unbelievably persistent on the skin. I've seen people with breakouts on their skin that look like cancer outbreaks. They look like really concerning moles. Sorry about the roaring noise. I'm in this construction zone, and the roads are just terrible, so I'm sure you're hearing it on the and the sound. Oh my gosh, traffic is unbelievably backed up. Oh man. Whoa. Okay, anyway, so it would have been impossible for her to, and he would have been in excruciating pain for days in the bath, trying to soak it, trying to wash whatever, if we even knew what it was. If we'd even known what it was, what if we didn't even know what it was? I mean, luckily we were like, oh, that's glyphosate. At least half the battle was done by knowing what it was. And we were like, okay, well, if we had known what it was, but couldn't quantumly release, at least we could have dealt with it that way. It would have been really hard. I mean, talk about the hardest place to get glyphosate would be those parts. That's awful. So anyway, within an hour, this kid loses his inflammation. I mean, he starts to function normally. It's just great. That's exactly what this work's supposed to be doing. But that's how he got it. That's the downstream effect of spraying your yard. Some kid comes over to your yard, it gets on their shoes, and then what? They got glyphosate. And what if the kid had rubbed his nose or eaten something, picked up something to eat, and then it went into his body? That's just awful. That's just awful. Here's another glyphosate story. I had a girlfriend of mine who called me because over the period of a month, she started watching her daughter lose executive functioning. Now, executive functioning are basic tasks. She was pretty young. The daughter was pretty young. I think she was 8 or 9, young kid. The executive functioning is being able to tell what day of the week it is. The kid was going down. I mean, the teachers were really concerned. It was not pretty. So I tested the daughter, and she was getting glyphosate hundreds of thousands of times a day. And I'm like, well, that's crazy. And it was coming in the body as a contactant. So I'm like, what the heck? How's this happening? So man, we problem solved it. We went 7 ways to Sunday trying to figure out how she was getting all this. So I tested her and it was coming in through a contactant. I'm like, okay, a contactant. What does that mean? So we tested where it was coming in the body. It was coming in the body through her lower limb lymphatics, because you can find that information out. I figured out a way to find out how, when, where, why, etc. So it was coming in through her lower limb lymphatics. I'm like, well, how is she? That must be her shoes. So I said, all right, we got to figure out, does she have shoes that she wears every day? Because if you get a little bit of glyphosate, say you're running bare feet somewhere, and you get glyphosate on your, or you're not even barefoot, let's just say you have sock feet on, and you don't have shoes on, and you run around the yard or somewhere, the playground, they used glyphosate, and then you put your shoes back, you put your feet back in your shoes, the socks now have glyphosate on them. They haven't contacted your skin. It's not absorbed into your skin, right? Because you had that layer of protection there. But it's now in your shoes. It's contaminated the inside of your shoes. And so every time, what if she wore bare feet in those shoes now? You know, what if she's one of those crazy kids who wears her socks with her flip-flops? And then, thinking, yeah, so now she's putting her bare feet in her shoes, and now she's getting contaminated every day, thousands, hundreds of thousands of times a day, just because she's getting the glyphosate physically on her skin. For some reason, it's not in a high enough dose that it's causing her to break her skin out. I'm not going to make it to Chick-fil-A, man. It's almost 10 o'clock. We're going to have to go somewhere else to eat. Panera Bread it is, I guess. Anyway, we figured it out. I said, all right, go grab her shoes. Let's go grab. So she grabs 2 or 3 pairs of shoes. We checked the shoes. One of the pairs of shoes tested bad. I said, go wash those shoes. Go wash them. A good rinse would do it, or toss them, but wash them if you want to save them. And so she washes them, and the next day, the daughter stops getting glyphosate immediately and starts to come back online. Now, when you do something like that, when you have that, you want to start doing nutrient work. You want to do tons of nutrients in the body. You want to get nutrients in the body. You want to get, those resources back up, because your endocrine system and your nutrients have been slaughtered by that glyphosate. That's the way to do it. So those are common client things going on. The daughter's fine now. Actually, that daughter, she's the one that she had Lyme really bad. She was going to die. She was dying. Her mom was like it was meltdown. It was panic. It was insanity. And her daughter, basically, after we got all that Lyme out of her body, she started getting well. She's not dying anymore. It's great. She's a normal kid. Happy, healthy, fun kid. Anyway, those are glyphosate stories. I wasn't going to do that today. I was going to talk about something else completely. But we're going to talk about, I guess we talk about glyphosate. I'll post this hopefully soon. That's it. Those are glyphosate stories. And the takeaway is that just don't use Roundup. I mean, you're just asking for it. It's kind of like having an Alexa in your house. I mean, that's fine. You can do that, but you're just asking for it. I mean, I just don't have any compassion when the police break your house, your door down because they've been illegally surveilling you. I'm just kidding. But I mean, when you're spraying a toxin on your own property, I'm sorry. I just don't do it. There's other ways. Just internet the sucker. Science the crap out of your weeds. Find out how to get rid of your weeds in a way that's not glyphosate. You can do it. I believe in you. All right, so that's glyphosate. And glyphosate can cause so many problems. They're varying. I worked on a guy yesterday that had glyphosate. He was a super, super sturdy guy. He really didn't get sick very often. He had a really good immune system. And he had glyphosate. He had gotten it as a contactant, and it went into he got a little spot on his shoulder. He had this little spot on his shoulder that he was really concerned about. And I said, so he looked, and he had gotten glyphosate, and the glyphosate had gone into his upper arm lymphatics, that arm, and his cervical lymph nodes. And he was having a migraine every once in a while that was kind of throwing him off, and he couldn't figure out why. Because the glyphosate probably came into contact with him on his shoulder somehow, and then absorbed into the lymph system, went into the upper arm lymphatics and the cervical lymph nodes, and he's just detoxing it. So anyway, don't use glyphosate. GMO products are definitely going to be a delivery system for glyphosate. You're going to want to avoid genetically modified organisms. They literally tell you they have glyphosate in them. I mean, it's not a secret. Believe the bad guys when they tell you what they're doing. All right, I'm going to let you guys go for today. I'm pulling up to my friend's house. That's it. We talked about glyphosate. Aren't you glad we got to talk about that? And I hope you guys have a really good holiday. If I post this before Christmas, I hope you guys have a good holiday, good New Year's, and thanks for joining me on this broadcast. If you're interested in scheduling something with me, I am going to be seeing new appointments in the beginning of the year. Thank you so much for your patience, for giving me a break. I have just been exhausted, needed a little bit of margin there. So you guys take care. Check out my website for new details in the beginning of the year, and we will see you on the next broadcast. Bye-bye.